Okay, people will be able to kind of get with us as they have an opportunity, but we're at about 4:06 right now. I apologize for the delay. We are going to get this thing going right now. For all of the students and all the parents that are able to be with us this evening or this late afternoon, thank you all so much for being here. Welcome back. I know this has been a long road since we have been out of school. It seems like it's been way too long at this point right now, being out of school in the middle of March last year and not being able to have an opportunity to get back until about a month into when the regular school year would begin, just due to wildfires and some extra training for our teachers relative to distance learning. Our students are going to need that as well. But let me be the first to just say, welcome back. We are excited about what we've got put together for this year. And I'd like to give you a little bit of an overview of the things that we're going to go over this evening. And then we are going to take some questions at the end where it says video links right there. That's where it should say questions and answers. So I apologize that I didn't get an opportunity to change that. We're going to do a little bit of an early intro and welcome back. We're going to discuss our hybrid model versus a comprehensive distance learning model and what the difference between those two things is. And how we're going to start the year, and then how we may transition a little bit later on in the year based on whether or not the state meets the metrics. We're going to take a look at your weekly schedule, or student weekly schedules. We're going to talk about attendance and how attendance is going to be tracked and taken for students throughout the year. We're going to talk about class expectations, behavior expectations, expectations as far as being in class, expectations as far as completing classwork and such. We're going to talk about some new platforms that we're rolling out that our students are going to need to learn. Our teachers have spent the last couple of weeks learning Canvas and Parent Square and Student Square, learning about Edgenuity, which is our new curriculum. And we're going to talk about how we're going to guide you through that process and get our students trained up on that, what those what those platforms look like. We're going to talk about what day one looks like. I think that's where most of the anxiety exists at this point, is how are we going to get to that jumping off point, and we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to take some questions, and some questions have been submitted already. Those will show up on the video screen, and we'll have responses for you at that point. First and foremost, welcome back. Thank you all again for being here. For those of you that don't know me, if you're a freshman or if you're a parent and we haven't met, my name is Wade Lockett. I'm the principal at Silverton High School. James Rise is also here with us right now. He's a panelist. He's an assistant principal here at the high school. He's also our athletic director. He's going to be manning the chat bar. So if you've got questions, feel free to put them into the chat bar. And as we get towards the end of all of this, we will answer those questions that he will be presenting for us. I want to welcome you to what is shaping up to be and very likely promises to be probably the most unique year of your academic career. This is something that none of us could have anticipated as far as a pandemic in March and what the spring looked like, and rolling into a summer and then ultimately into a fall with a global pandemic, and how we have to react to that, and the state mandates as far as how we move forward with an education in the year 2020 and 2021. As we got moving into our process and understanding what we were going to be doing to give our students a great educational experience, our town and communities just outside of town got hit with some wildfires, the likes of which the state has never seen before, and this community has never seen before. And for those of you that were hit very hard and impacted very hard by those fires, I hope everything is okay. I'm glad you are back with us right now. If there are supports that you need, please let us know. There are supports that are available, and we just need to know where those supports need to go. So know that our hearts go out to all of you, and know that we are here to help. So if there's anything that anybody needs that have been impacted either by the pandemic or by the wildfires, please, please, please let us know so that we can get the resources to be able to help. All of the learning that we are going to be doing this year is going to be something new. It's new to us. It's going to be new to you as students. It's going to be new to you as parents. And that is something that we're all working really hard to kind of wrap our brains around what all of this looks like. And that's why we have this opportunity to sit down tonight, try and introduce some of that stuff to our students. We've had a few parent town halls where we've had the opportunity to ask and answer some questions. But I think the important thing to understand right now is that we are learning this as teachers, as administrators, as support staff, as parents. We are all learning this alongside the students. In many ways, as far as the technology is concerned, the students are probably going to pick it up a lot faster than we are. And that's just, kind of a sign of the times. And the nature of students growing up with the computers and the technology and the internet and online educational opportunities in ways that our teachers and administrators and support staff many times didn't have an opportunity to grow up and just grow up with the technology. So we're going to be learning a lot of this alongside with our students. And if our students have suggestions to do things more efficient or better, we certainly are open to those suggestions to be able to do things that are going to address their academic needs or your academic needs better than we are addressing them through our process at this point right now. It really is going to be an exploration together. And I think the important thing to keep in mind through this process is that there's no doing this wrong. We've been saying this to our teachers as well. There's no doing this wrong. We are going to do the best that we can, and we're going to make adjustments as needed in order to serve our students as best as we can possibly serve them. So, if you're having trouble understanding something, if you're having trouble logging on, if you feel like you're getting behind, it really is a matter of letting us know what you need, whether it's a parent or whether it's a student, letting us know what it is you need so that we can get you the resources to be able to serve you as best as we possibly can. Your counselors will be a great resource for you in that capacity. Your AG teachers will be a great resource for you in that capacity. Your teachers will be a great resource for you in that capacity. So please keep that in mind. You're going to get everything that we can possibly get you in order to be successful throughout this school year. And please know, again, there is no doing this wrong, short of just not doing it and completely disengaging. Please make sure that you are engaging. If there are things that aren't working for you, let us know, and we'll do what we can to make adjustments to get it right for you. Ask questions. Ask for help, reach out, and know that as we go through this process together, we got this, and that we're going to do everything we can to take care of you. We will walk you through every part of the process that we can. We'll go as slow as we need to make sure that our students are understanding what they're getting, and understanding that this, like I said, it's a new learning process. It's a new teaching process. It's a new learning process. So let the year surprise you. I think there's a lot of good things coming around the corner, and I think nature will kick in. Our nature as teachers, our teachers' nature as teachers, our students' nature as students, that once we get in front of one another, even on a computer screen, that the nature of being a teacher and student will kick in, and this is going to be a really good experience for all of us. So be ready to allow the year to surprise you in very good ways. So starting with the hybrid model versus the comprehensive distance learning model. You might recall early in the year, we were talking about what it would look like to bring students back to the school in a hybrid model. And what that means is that it would be a hybrid between some distance learning and some in-person learning. That was the goal at the very beginning of the summer, and it was the goal right into about the middle of the summer, when the state of Oregon eventually kind of took a hard pivot and basically said there's going to be some very specific metrics that need to be hit before we're able to put anybody in schools and into any in-person learning. By that time, we had created cohort A and cohort B model, where our students from cohort A would be coming to school in person on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and our cohort B would be coming to school in person on Wednesdays and Fridays. The purpose for this was that the state mandated that only a certain number of people, only a certain number of people could be in a specific classroom at any given time, and each student had to have their own specific square footage of space within that classroom. So it really limited the number of students that we were going to be able to get into a classroom. Once we created those cohorts, then the state took a pivot and said, nobody's going to school at all as far as in-person learning is concerned. And so we had to make a little bit of a change at that point to be able to address those needs. And what that turned into for us was maintaining those cohorts, because if there is a point where we hit those metrics and we're able to get back into a hybrid model, we need to make sure that those cohorts still exist. so that we can have cohort A and cohort B in person. But what that means as far as comprehensive distance learning is concerned is that cohorts A and cohorts B are actually going to be learning together. You're going to be in the same virtual classroom as your counter cohort. So just be aware of that. The cohorts A and B do not necessarily apply to the comprehensive distance learning. So just so you're aware of that, everybody will be learning together in the comprehensive distance learning. The way that it will look as far as your weekly class schedule is concerned, Mondays are going to be a day that there will be no live synchronous in-person meetings. For those of us that don't know the difference between synchronous and asynchronous, a synchronous meeting is a live meeting where you will be able to interact with your peers, with your teacher in front of you on a screen. An asynchronous meeting is going to be something that is typically recorded or otherwise given to you without a live meeting. And so Mondays are going to be all asynchronous. Teachers will push out lessons, teachers will push out learning opportunities, they might push out readings, they might push out objectives for the week, but students are going to be required to log into their classes on a daily basis, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, in all 4 classes, and see what the assignments, what the activities, what the objectives for those particular days are. So Mondays, generally no live meetings on Mondays, but there will be assignments in all classes. Teachers may request to meet with students on Mondays, and where you would have an opportunity to have a live, perhaps one-on-one meeting with a teacher. But there's not going to be anything as far as the weekly schedule for students that's going to be on a Monday. On Tuesdays, period 1 and period 3 will each have live synchronous opportunities for students. From 9 to 10:25 will be a live synchronous opportunity with your first period, and from 11 to 12:25 will be a live synchronous opportunity with your third period. For those that are wondering why we have periods 1, 3, 5, and 7 as opposed to 1, 2, 3, and 4 to begin the year, the simple answer to that is that we made a mistake when we were doing the original scheduling, and we're looking at an alternating block schedule. It's a long explanation, but we scheduled things out in periods 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 for the entire year. And then instead of doing the alternating block, we went with the 4x4 block. It's a long explanation, but really it was just, as far as labeling the classes, it was a mistake on our part. And once we got it scheduled, it was going to be a long, tedious process to move it back. And so our students will have periods 1, 3, 5, and 7 first semester, and they will have periods 2, 4, 6, and 8 second semester. Back to our schedule. Tuesdays, period 1 and period 3, live synchronous opportunities. And then teachers will have office hours from 1 to 3 o'clock every day. Now, how teachers structure those office hours is going to be up to them. They may create one-on-one meetings with students. They may decide that 45 minutes of that time is for period 1, and maybe 45 minutes of that time is for period 3, and then maybe a half hour of that time is for any kind of open questions. They may just open a live meet and let students come in and ask questions. But it's really going to be up to the teacher as to how they want to structure those office hours. The important thing is between 1 and 3 every single day, Tuesdays through Fridays, teachers are going to have office hours and are going to be available to students to answer any questions that students have relative to the coursework that they've been assigned. On Wednesdays, you'll see periods 5 and 7. Period 7 is AG for everybody. So on Wednesdays and Fridays, you will have period 5 and then AG from 11 to 12:25. Thursday will look just like Tuesday. Friday will look just like Wednesday. So that is going to be the student schedule for the week. Mind you, please keep in mind that on Tuesdays, students, you still have to log into class to your period 5 and to your AG class to see what sorts of activities, what sorts of lessons are being pushed out on those days for those classes. They are asynchronous opportunities, but you will have to be visiting all four classes, all 5 days of the week. This schedule is also posted on our website. So if you go to the high school's main website, you will see kind of a menu of links that you'll be able to take a look at. And the fall schedule for 2020 is included in that. So please keep that in mind as well. And I will be sending this entire presentation out later on after we complete this tonight. Attendance. We just ironed this out today, actually. It was a long process of trying to figure out how we were going to take attendance. Because not every student is going to be logging in at the same time. Students are not necessarily required to log into their synchronous meetings with their classes at the times that they are offered. Some students are going to be working, some students are going to be taking care of siblings. We understand that this needs to be very flexible. And so not every student is going to have the opportunity to log into a live synchronous meeting. The expectation, though, is that students are logging into every single class every day. So every day, students will be getting an email from Student Square. It will come from the school, and they will get that email by 11 a.m. And that email will essentially be an exit ticket for the day. It will not say these exact words. This is just a little bit of a sample of what it will look like. But essentially, did you do working period 1 today? Click yes or no. Did you do working period 3 today? Click yes or no. Did you do working period 5 today? Click yes or no. Did you do work in your AG today? Click yes or no. Hit save. All of that information will go to the attendance office, and the attendance office will use that feedback in order to mark you either present or absent for that particular day. But that is going to serve as our attendance, is you're filling out that exit ticket that you are going to be emailed on a daily basis. You'll get the email by 11 a.m. It needs to be filled out by midnight. So you'll have a 13-hour window to be able to fill that out. If you weren't able to be in your live synchronous meeting at 9 o'clock, that's okay. Go in and log into your first period class or your third period class, what have you, at 5 o'clock in the evening, and that's all right. Do the work, do the homework, do the assignments, do the activities, then fill out your attendance exit ticket, and you will be marked present for the day. If you do not respond to your exit ticket for that day, you will be marked as an unexcused absence. So it is incumbent upon students to make sure that they are logging in, checking things on a daily basis, including their email, to be able to respond to their exit ticket. That will serve as their attendance. So please make sure that you're doing that. Class expectations. One of the things that we just talked about is student responsibility. The responsibilities for a student this year, they are going to be increased. It is going to be on students and on families and on parents to make sure that they are getting on a daily basis and taking care of the work that is being assigned. It is going to be on students to ask the questions. This is a whole different learning style. It's a whole different teaching style. And the only way that we can be responsive to what students need is for students to take some responsibility on their part at this point right now and ask the questions and tell us what they need. So please make sure that you're doing that, because your responsibilities as a student have increased for this year. There's just no getting around that when it comes to online learning at this point. Canvas and Edgenuity. I'll show you another graphic here in just a moment that's going to kind of explain what Canvas and Edgenuity are. But Canvas is essentially a learning management system. It's a platform that you will be going to on a daily basis, logging into the Canvas. It's going to show your menu of classes. If you have physical science, jazz band, algebra 1, and ceramics, there will be a classroom on each of those in your Canvas. You will need to go to your Canvas. Once you click into your class, you'll have access to your Edgenuity course. In most cases, there's going to be some classes that aren't using Edgenuity because the curriculum just didn't line up with what we do. You'll learn about what those classes are, but for the most part, most of our classes are going to be running with Edgenuity. But it is going to be the student responsibility to be logging on to Canvas, to learn Edgenuity, and then to learn to walk yourself through those courses. Your teachers will help you out. Your AG teachers will help you out. There's a process that we have in place to make sure that you're not just hung out to dry, that you're going to learn those things. So we want to make sure that you have all the support in the world just to be able to learn those programs, those platforms, to understand those platforms, and then to be able to ask questions about things that you don't understand in order so that you can get on the right page. So, and then behavior expectations. Our behavior expectations in a virtual classroom are going to be no different than they were in a regular classroom. You're going to be held to the same standard. When it comes to language, when it comes to the things that we wear, all of those expectations are exactly the same as they were when you were in the physical building at Silverton High School. Your teachers will have the opportunity, I'll say the opportunity, they're going to have the ability with their Google Meet links to be able to dismiss people from classrooms. And once they dismiss somebody from a classroom, that person is dismissed from the classroom for, I think it's for 24 hours. So do know that if you're doing things that are inappropriate in a virtual classroom, or are wearing things that are inappropriate in a virtual classroom, that your teacher will dismiss you from class. And you will have that conversation with the teacher later on. So please make sure that that our behavior in an online environment is appropriate, and please make sure that you understand what the behavior expectations are when you walk into an online environment, into that classroom. Your teachers will go over a syllabus with you just like they do on a regular basis, or on in a regular class, in a regular physical classroom. So you'll know what the syllabus is. You should know what the expectations are when you are in class, and please just abide by those behavior expectations. Make sure it's appropriate. The new platforms that we are going to be using, we already talked a little bit about them, but here's a nice little graphic. If you see me looking this way, by the way, I'm on a split screen and I'm looking at the graphics over here as I'm talking to you over here. Parent Square is how we are going to communicate with parents. It's also going to be how we communicate with students. There's also a Student Square. And so teachers might be communicating with students through Canvas as well, but we've already talked about attendance being taken with Student Square. So do know that Parent Square, Student Square are kind of an email platform that the district and certainly the school are going to be using to communicate with parents and with students. It says here, remember, they can have some overlapping features, but just because a tool can do something doesn't mean it's the best choice. So for us, Parent Square is going to be how we communicate with parents and how we communicate attendance with students. Canvas is essentially your virtual classroom. Think of Canvas, going into your Canvas, as walking into a classroom. You will walk in, you will sit down. The teacher then provides that curriculum, right? They provide the instruction, and that's where Edgenuity comes in, is that will serve as that instructional piece, that curriculum piece. Some classes, our teachers are going to be asking students to check out textbooks. If they are, that email should have already gone out to you, so you should know whether or not you are going to need textbooks, art supplies, certain materials that you will need in order to complete the activities and the assignments for your class. And those will work in line with what you see in your classroom and what you see in Edgenuity. So those are the three platforms that you're going to be responsible for understanding and for knowing moving into the school year. There will be training on those. Again, you're not going to be just hung out to dry, expecting to know these on day one. You're going to get training on this. Our teachers understand that that our students and parents are going to need to understand these platforms in order for us to be able to deliver effective curriculum for our students. Day one, this is hopefully this particular slide right here will relieve a little bit of anxiety for folks, because I know day one is always kind of that first one where just trying to make that transition from we've been out of school for so long and now you're jumping right back into it. And what does that first day look like? And we're starting, 4 weeks later than we typically start. So what does it look like on September 28th? On Monday, when you log in, you will begin with close to an hour of a live meeting with your AG from 9 to 9:50. This is where your teacher is going to introduce you to Canvas. This is where your teacher is going to introduce you to Student Square. Your teacher is going to introduce you to Edgenuity and what your classes are going to look like. you're going to have conversations. You're going to reconnect with your peers. You're going to reconnect with your AGs. If you're a freshman, you're going to learn who your AGs are. Your AG is your advisory group. You're going to have an opportunity to meet and greet with your peers, get to know each other a little bit better. Again, if you're freshmen, and then again, if you're sophomores, juniors, and seniors, get an opportunity just to reconnect with your peers there, and do it in a virtual setting. I know a lot of you are familiar with virtual settings already, but this will be in a virtual academic setting to begin with on September 28th. At 10 o'clock, you're going to begin 15-minute introductory meetings with each of your classes. And this is going to be introduced to you as well during that first 9 to 9:50 time. So your AG teachers will explain to you how that process is going to look during that first 50 minutes. And they're going to explain to you kind of a step-by-step process that you're going to go through to log into each of your classes between 10 and 11:15. They're very structured at that time. So it'll be 10 to 10:15, 10:30 to 10:45. I don't know how it's scheduled. I don't have the exact schedule in my head right now. I apologize. As I was going through that, I realized that the times weren't going to work out as I was saying them. So, so just so you know, there's going to be 15-minute blocks of time for each of your classes at that time. From 11:30 to 12:30, you're going to meet back with your advisory group and kind of debrief on the things that you have learned at that point. Going to continue connecting and reconnecting with your peers. You're going to talk about what some of your questions are at that point. But it's going to be another live meeting with your advisory group from 11:30 to 12:30. And that's going to be your first day. That's going to be what September 28th looks like. And it should get you prepared at the very least to be able to log on to your classes the following day and be ready for what those classes are going to look like. Teachers do have detailed lessons laid out relative to these meetings. So please know that you don't need to know any of this stuff walking into it. All you need to know is how to get into that. Your teachers will be sending, your AG teachers will be sending an email no later than tomorrow explaining how to log into that AG meeting. That should all be detailed for you in an email that's going to come to you no later than tomorrow from your AG teacher. So please be on the lookout for that email, okay? And the last thing that I want to leave you with at this point right now, one of the great things about Silverton High School is that we've got a ton of clubs and activities. Every one of us needs as many connections as we can possibly get at this point right now, because sometimes being in front of a virtual screen, you lose some of that personal connection that exists. But the clubs and activities are great at maintaining those connections. Every single club, every single activity, every single class, every single teacher that we have at this school is the most important part of some kid's day that goes to school here at Silverton High School. And because that's the case, we treat all of them with the same reverence that we would treat any of them. We do everything we can to make sure that we've got a lot of clubs. We do everything we can to support every one of our clubs because we know that each of them is the most important part of somebody's day here at Silverton High School. So please, when you have an opportunity to get involved in Key Club, with Interact, with GSA, with any of our athletics or activities, bands, choirs, drama, speech and debate. If you have an opportunity to get involved in a club or activity at Silverton High School, please, please, please get involved. You will create some very, very meaningful connections as you go through this, go through those processes. Most of it is just being able to have good social connections with your peers. And a lot of it is geared towards skills that will be beneficial and valuable for you as you move throughout your life. So please take the opportunity to take a look at the clubs and activities that exist at Silverton High School. Talk to your AG teacher about what some of those opportunities are. And we highly encourage you to get involved in as many things as you possibly can. And that's where we're at this point right now. I've taken a lot of questions already as far as getting emails. I know that there's some other questions that have come up in the Q&A, and I do want to spend this last part, 20, 25 minutes or so answering questions that students might have. I think that's an important part of all of this. We've had an opportunity to sit in front of parents and answer questions for parents, but we haven't had the opportunity to answer student questions. So I want to go through these questions right now, and then I want to have Mr. Rise Tell us whatever questions have been coming up in the chat bar. If you've got questions, please start writing them in, and we will be here no later than 5, but certainly up to 5 to be able to answer those questions. So the questions that have already come in: how do students and parents log into Canvas? I saw that we are supposed to use an email login, but I don't know what that is or where to find it. So again, you should get an email no later than tomorrow from your teachers, from your AG teachers, that are going to explain to you how to log in for your first day on Monday. At that point, your teachers will explain that login process and how you get into your Edgenuity, how you get into your Canvas. All of that will be explained. Again, we're not going to leave you out to dry. All of this stuff will be very explicit for you, and your AG teachers will walk you through that process, okay? Is there a final daily, weekly schedule posted somewhere? I've seen the draft. What is the final schedule? Hopefully you had an opportunity to see that a little bit earlier in the presentation. It is also posted to our website. I am also going to email this out via Parent Square and Student Square to everybody as soon as we are finished here this evening. So both the presentation and the video of the presentation will go out to everybody tonight. Is there a calendar for the high school that shows the quarter dates, such as finals, parent conferences, etc.? There is. That has been adjusted. There are some changes to our calendar that was approved by the school board last spring. Before we totally distribute that calendar, we need to make sure that the updated calendar has been approved as well. As soon as we get that out, it will be posted, and we will send that out to you as well. But yes, there are some adjustments for that. Some quarter dates have been moved back. Certain dates that were at one point considered non-contact days are going to be contact days with students. So know that there has been some adjustments as far as our calendar is concerned. For the first day of school, September 28th, students don't have classes that meet synchronously, or however you said that. That is how I said it. What can they expect that day from teachers and for instruction? Again, your first day and really your first, several days of classes are going to be focused on training you on how to do this. I would not expect to be getting any new content, certainly through the first part of the first week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you might start looking at some content in AP or perhaps dual credit, college credit courses, towards the end of the week there. But for the first part of this week, I would fully expect that this is going to be community building, seeing your classmates, seeing your peers, and getting an opportunity to learn Canvas and getting an opportunity to learn about Edgenuity. So please know that that's really what the first several days is going to be committed to, is just onboarding you and making sure that you know what this process looks like moving forward.
Hey, Mr. Lockett, can we confirm that typical Mondays, there is no synchronous, although the first Monday, the 28th, there is synchronous?
That is correct. That is correct.
We just need to make sure that that's explicitly clear.
Okay.
After the first week, there will not be synchronous meetings on Mondays. However, this first Monday, the 28th,
yes,
there will be.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you clarifying that. And there will not be, on a regular Monday, there will not be regularly scheduled live synchronous meetings. Your teachers may schedule a meeting with you specifically to address some things, but there will not be any regularly scheduled live synchronous meetings as far as your weekly schedule is concerned on a Monday. Do the students have to have a Chromebook for this work? I can find the login information for Chromebooks, but what if they were planning to use their own computers? Yeah, you can use your own computer for this work. You do not have to have one of the school checked out Chromebooks. If you need a Chromebook, we have them available to check out. In fact, they're checking them out today. If you weren't able to get in today to check out a Chromebook and you need one, please let us know, and we can still check one out to you. So, but yes, a computer will be something that you will need in order to access these lessons. So if you want to use your own computer, that is totally fine. You can do that. When do zero period classes meet, specifically jazz band? So the zero period classes are a little bit more flexible, and I'm going to point you to your teacher as far as that question is concerned. So if you have jazz band, I would suggest you talk to Mr. Petrick and find out when he is planning to meet with the jazz band. In some of those cases, they may be a true zero period. It could be a little bit earlier in the morning that they are meeting. It could be a little bit later in the afternoon that they are meeting. So please check with your zero period teacher, because the idea there was to give them a little bit more flexibility to work with those students on when they could. Will there be an orientation about how to log into classes and schedules? Yes, hopefully that question was answered. That'll take place really during your first week as well. So the most important thing right now is being able to log in on Monday with your AG teacher. At that point, you'll be given a lot more instruction on how all of this stuff works. Is the entire school year going to be pushed back 2 weeks, including the quarter start dates? How will we make up for lost time? Again, once our calendar is approved, we'll make sure that we get that calendar sent out to you. But yeah, things are going to adjust a little bit. When it comes to our last week of school, I want to say we're able to make up some non-student contact days throughout the year. So it doesn't extend the school year by a ton, but it will extend the school year by a little bit, I believe, is what that final proposal is going to be. So making up for lost time is going to be where there was once non-student contact days. We are making up with some student contact days there. So just be aware of that. Will all teachers be doing live meets for all scheduled classes? No, that will not necessarily be the case. There will be live synchronous opportunities that exist on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. But on days that you are not scheduled to have a live synchronous meeting with your first period class, there will still be material, activities, assignments that exist for that first period class that you will have to log in and see what those expectations are for that particular day. So not every single day will there be a live synchronous opportunity. Will all teachers be doing live meets for all scheduled classes? There's going to be some flexibility with that as well. With the live synchronous meetings, there is an expectation for teachers to be there, but there's also the possibility that teachers have some commitments of their own. They've got children. They may get sick. There may be some things that won't allow them to be in front of a live synchronous meeting at that point, but they might have some videos or some things recorded at that point for that time. But generally speaking, yes, I think teachers see the value of being in front of students in live synchronous opportunities, and I believe that our teachers are making that happen. Yes. I read that students must sign into every class every day so as to not be counted absent. Is there any flexibility on what time we sign in? Can this be done in the evenings? Yeah. Again, this schedule is created for the flexibility for students and for families. We understand that there are situations that exist out there that aren't perfectly conducive to learning, to being in a classroom at specific times. We understand that people work. We understand that people take care of siblings. We understand that there are varying conditions that we can't control. When we're not in a school building, and because that's the case, we are trying to create something that's very flexible for our students to be able to log on and access their education at different times throughout the day and at times that work for them and for their families. And that's what this is for. So if you're not able to make the live synchronous meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning, but you can log in and watch a recording of that live synchronous meeting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then we would say log in and watch it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and get that material at that point. And then if you need to access teacher office hours to ask questions about that the following day, that's what those office hours are there for. So, we've created something that we hope is very flexible and conducive to teachers and to students and to families that have varying schedules. So that's the questions that I got here. Mr. Rise, do we have some other questions that have come up?
Yes, if you would like to click onto the Q&A, I've dismissed a couple that we've already talked about. But if you want to knock out that first one with how will ceramics work, and then also pair that with maybe art and some of our other electives, because there was a question specifically about that in the chat as well. So we can knock a couple of those out together, and then I'll
Sure.
kind of continue to feed you those.
Okay. So the first question that comes up is, how will ceramics class work? And that's a good question. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna steer you towards Mr. Boyd as far as that's concerned. Every teacher is responsible for creating their own classes, and I know that Mr. Boyd and Mr. Mandish have been hard at work creating some boxes or bags to be distributed for students that are in their classes. And so it's not going to work like it's normally worked, where we're going to be in Mr. Boyd's classroom and sitting on the wheel and doing those sorts of things. But there is going to be instruction, and there is going to be a ceramics class that I think is probably going to be better answered by Mr. Boyd when you step into his class on day one. So know that. I know that he is creating a class that is going to give students a really good experience. But as far as what specifically or how specifically that's going to look, I think that's going to be a better question for Mr. Boyd.
And then, and then the next question there was, do students need to be on the 6 o'clock meeting? Is that a town hall for tonight? I think.
Yeah, and that's another parent town hall that's going to be taking place at 6 o'clock. Students are certainly welcome to be a part of that. We'll field your questions at that time too, if you would like, but I will tell you that the parents tonight are going to get the exact same presentation that you just got. So you can be on there if you'd like, but you'd be getting the same information twice. So it's really up to you. We won't kick you off if you decide to show up. Next question, will we be using Zoom? No, the platform that we will be using for our school is going to be Google Meets. Same as we were able to use last year. Google Meet has actually just updated a lot of their options, and so it's gonna resemble Zoom a little bit more than it did in the past. But that is the platform that we're going to be using as far as our live synchronous meetings are concerned this fall.
I'll go ahead and take the next kind of group here with clubs and after school activities and sports. There's a few that are kind of along the same lines there. Whether we're a sport or an activity or a club, Mr. Lockett talked a lot about connections. And as a staff, as coaches, as advisors, we want to offer as much as we can. So please be in contact if you have not heard from your advisor for your club yet. But we are encouraging all of our clubs and all of our after-school activities to do as much as we can. With that being said, we do have specific guidelines that we have to follow, whether that is distancing while we're outside, whether that's masked while we're inside, contact, no contact with sports. There are a ton of guidelines for each group, each sport, each club. But we will do whatever we can to support those opportunities. Mr. Lockett, do you want to add anything to that specifically?
No, I think that's well said. And as we are allowed to continue to offer more things, we will step it up and offer more things. Right now, we're kind of confined to the state's metrics as far as what we are allowed to offer and what we are not allowed to offer. As the state starts to open that stuff up and give us more opportunities to offer in-person activities and athletics, we will definitely be complying with that.
And then to follow up, there was a question on how might we join clubs in that. We typically, for our incoming freshmen, hold a club day in the fall. That will look something different this year, but we will still encourage all of our clubs to reach out to all of our freshmen and incoming students, and all students for that matter, I guess, to hopefully get involved. So look for more information through your AGs. That's typically where we do that fall meeting for clubs.
Sure. Thank you. Has a decision been made on how finals will work? No, there's not been a final decision made on how finals will work at this point. I think we want to get things moving and get things running to begin with, and see one thing at a time. But just to be really straightforward and honest, we haven't figured out exactly what a finals schedule or what finals could look like at this point, or whether it would even be a traditional finals at this point. I think there's more conversations that need to be had with our teachers, with our departments, just to figure out, what that's going to look like. As soon as we know, we'll let you know. We know that's an important part of your educational experience. And so as soon as we do know what our finals will look like, we will make sure our students know. Will classes require supplies such as notebooks for note-taking or things like that optional? I think a lot of that stuff is going to be done online. So it's never a bad idea to take notes for classes and take notes on things that you're hearing and things that you think are important pieces of information. But unless there are certain things that teachers are going to be requiring students to turn in, in terms of like guided notes or something along those lines, that might be class specific. So I don't want to answer that question for our teachers. Your teachers will guide you as far as what you will need for their classes. How is signing in with all of your teachers every day going to work? Again, that is going to be a Student Square email that you're going to be getting at the end of, or really in the middle of every day, and you are going to need to tell or answer the Student Square email survey, really the exit ticket that says, yes, I was here in class and I did this work, or no, I was not. If you don't answer that Student Square, then you're going to default to being marked absent. So there is a daily responsibility to make sure that you are getting on to your classes and then getting into your Student Square to make sure that that you are accounting for your own attendance. Okay. What was the decision behind AP scheduling and the weight students will have to have in the spring until they can take their test? That's a really good question. The one that we went back and forth with a lot. But the decision behind that was basically that we felt that AP classes needed to get the material in prior to the test being taken. And so the idea was to get the material in for our AP classes and then give our students as many support opportunities during second semester and leading up to the tests as we could possibly give them moving into the AP tests in the spring. We didn't think it was going to be fair to our students to offer AP classes in the spring and not get through all of the content prior to the test being taken. So that was the idea behind front-loading AP courses into first semester. What resources are students going to have to help them continue studying for AP tests through the spring? We're going to be giving as many supports as we possibly can, including study sessions, outside sessions, virtual at this point. If we can do things live, and we'll make that happen as well. But we do plan to make sure that our students have as much support as they need after the AP class and leading into the AP tests in the spring. So do know that there is a plan in progress as far as that's concerned. How will pre-SATs or SATs work? I don't have an answer for that right now. At this point right now, we are not allowed to have people in the building to do that, so it's going to have to be some work in coordination with the College Board. Our counseling department has had that conversation as well already up to this point. As soon as we have a firm answer for that, we'll make sure that you are aware of it. Have you worked out any services for students who aren't in an optimal environment to go and do online school somewhere else? We are working on that at this point right now. If we're talking about classroom or home environments that aren't perfectly suitable for learning, there's nothing that's optimal about this situation at all. And I think that's the important thing to keep in mind is that this is a difficult situation that we're doing the best that we can to make sure that we are providing an education for our students. If there are things that aren't working as far as a living environment is concerned and is not a suitable learning environment, please let your AG teacher know. They're going to be contacting every single student very soon, as early as tomorrow. but if there are challenges that exist due to the learning environment, we need to know that so that we can work on making some adjustments. Are Trump flags banned in the background? No. Students have, unless of course, the teacher, if we're talking about a classroom environment, Trump flags or political flags are not something that we have banned per se. When it comes to the red "Make America Great Again" hat, that is something that we have said over and over again that we do not allow, and that is going to remain consistent. We do have a recent history that would demonstrate that those particular hats have caused a substantial disruption to our learning environment. Because that is the case, we have said that those particular hats are not allowed. But if there is anything that is causing a disruption to the learning environment, then we'll make calls on those sorts of things individually. So if there's something about any kind of flag or any kind of political speech that ultimately is creating a disruption in class, we'll make an adjustment. But for the most part, at this point right now, the red "Make America Great Again" hat, the noose, the swastika, the Confederate flag, those are things that recently came out in an "All Students Belong" mandate by the Oregon Department of Education, that it will not be allowed in any virtual classrooms or in schools. So the MAGA hat is specific to Silverton High School, by the way. Is there any way to get weekly work ahead of time? The work will be pushed out as the teachers push it out. So if teachers push out 2 weeks of work, 2 weeks worth of work at a time, then the answer to that is yes. If they don't, then I think you would have to talk to the teacher specifically about that. I am not going to mandate that teachers run their classrooms in any specific way. So I think that's the answer there.
Mr. Lockett, we have a handful of questions that we're actually put into the chat. So I'm going to kind of throw them out to you.
What we might have to do, because we are actually getting right to the end of our time here. What I'd like to do is take these questions and we can put them into a document and we can send them out a little bit later, because I just saw right now that there's actually a significant number of questions that showed up in the chat bar.
Yeah, some of which you have already answered,
okay.
And some are some repeats. So you got about 2 minutes. I bet we can knock out a handful of them here.
Well, what I'd like to do though, just to be able to kind of give a closing, because I know that our tech support has other meetings that they need to get to right on the tail end of this. So what I'd like to do is be able to compile those questions, answer them, and send them out when we send this stuff out a little bit later. What I want to do is tell our students that I appreciate you getting on today. I hope you're ready to get back to school. I know that our teachers are ready to get back and start working with you. I know that our support staff is ready to get back and see our students and just begin getting into something that's a little bit more normal again. And what's normal for us is being able to work with you. So thank you for being here this evening. Know that we really look forward to getting back in front of you. Know that if there are things that you need, if there is support that you need, let us know that we are here to help you in any way that we possibly can. We care about you. We're excited to get this thing started up again. Working together and understanding what you need, understanding what the challenges are, what the obstacles are. Know that we believe we can work together and give a great experience, give you a great experience for your 2021 school year, and know that we've got this one together. If you have questions, let us know. We'll get this stuff out to you as quickly as we possibly can. Again, we'll have the presentation posted, and we'll have the questions that have showed up in the chat bar answered and out to you as soon as we possibly can. There will be a video available of this particular presentation as well that will be sent out. So again, we look forward to seeing you. Have a great year. If you have additional questions, feel free to email me personally, but I'm excited to see you again. Go Foxes.